Hey Stitch Cutie, I'm Brittany.
And I'm Julie.
And together we're mother-daughter duo of Stitches of Love. Woo!
And guess what? It's Hedgies. Everybody's probably gotten some of their Hedgie boxes.
Yes, a lot of you already have your Hedgies boxes. I'm so excited. If you don't have yours yet, don't worry. The mailman's bringing it to you. And if you ordered all the scrumptious threads and needles that go with it, a huge order restocked us today. So all this afternoon and all day tomorrow, we're all going to be getting those boxes packed and shipped out to you right away, because you definitely want to make sure you have all your tools ready to go when you get started.
And you should see that fun box of pretty colors.
You know, before it's unpacked, it might already be unpacked, we should take a picture of just how beautiful that box is to open. It's like a giant box of threads from our friends at Sulky. It's pretty. So welcome to our live tutorial today. As Mom mentioned, what we are going to be working on are some tips for the sewing machine applique version of the Hedgies. So that means if you're going to use your sewing machine and your favorite buttonhole stitch or your favorite applique stitch to stitch your Hedgies throughout the project. Now on the flip side, what we're going to be working on tomorrow is the machine embroidery side, which is my personal favorite, where we're going to use our embroidery machine to stitch the applique every month. So there's two options. If you haven't joined yet, come on and join us. It's going to be a blast. So I do want to also start by saying that these are our live tutorials. We also will be posting the formal tutorials that truly go step by step every way through the pattern. But we really like to do the Facebook Lives because we get to chat with you all. You get to ask live questions.
And we wanted you to be able to get started if you've got your box and you're just like,
I know, you're like, let's get going. But every month we'll be doing the formal tutorials and you'll get the live. Yay! So it's going to be a lot of fun. So first things first, let me tell you what we're going to do. I keep saying first things first. I'm going to like the fifth first thing. So the fifth first thing that we're going to talk about is...
That's like the third, fifth bank.
Oh!
Or whatever that bank's
whatever
called.
that bank is.
That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, really. I think it was a corner.
That's
like
weird.
Two streets. I don't know. Anyways, what we're going to be working on, I'm going to go through just an outline of the pattern, and then what we're going to do is build our applique unit for our Hedgie. We're going to put it on our background fabric, and then Mom is going to give you buttonhole stitch tips that coincide with what's in the pattern, and we're actually going to move the camera over here, and you're going to see Mom's actual stitching. And then in a follow-up tutorial will be when we use the ruler and make the borders on the mini pillow. But we are going to briefly talk about the ruler today.
Yeah.
Because it'll take you a minute to do all the stitching. So, okay, so first, in your box, you have your pattern cover, or your binder cover, your back cover, and your the edge of your binding. So get that all set up. Again, a tip to put your little side piece in right here is to lay your binder flat and then slide that in. Trust me, it makes it a lot easier. So then all the rest of your pattern that you have this month in your starter kit, you're going to put inside your binder. And I'm going to briefly go through this so that everyone knows where we are. Why are you laughing at me?
The look you gave me.
Oh, well, Mom didn't want to talk. She wanted me to talk, so.
She's a good talker.
Mom's a good talker, too.
Not as good as you.
So when you go to the first page in your pattern, there's a before you begin, and we give you a few tips here. One, read your whole pattern first, because that does help, don't you think?
I would say it is very important if you read your pattern, any pattern, I don't care what you're making,
Yeah,
who
no
it
matter
comes
what.
from, read the whole pattern first. That way you have a real grasp on what you're going to be doing. You get a good idea for it.
Exactly, you just head off any mistakes.
Plus it's fun reading.
See, and you made fun of me for saying it was nighttime reading on the bedstand.
Well,
You can take it in your binder and put it on your nightstand and read it before you go to bed. Mom thinks I'm silly, but I read funny stuff like that. Okay,
I
then...
might have been known to do it too.
Uh-huh. So then also we remind you that throughout this pattern and all the rest of the patterns in the Hedgie series, when we tell you to stitch a seam, it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance throughout the entire thing, unless noted otherwise. I don't think there's any times we notate otherwise, but
I doubt it.
yeah, maybe if there is, you'll know because it's written. We just don't remember. And then we also remind you that when you're doing the sewing machine version, you want to do a 30 weight sulky thread in the needle of your machine, and then you do a matching 50 weight sulky thread in your bobbin. And of course we have both of those thread kits available with all 17 colors that you need for the Hedgies. Yep. If you don't want to invest in 30 weight and 50 weight thread for sewing machine applique, you can use the 50 weight on the top and the bottom.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever you want.
In theory, you can use any thread you want.
I
We're
don't
just telling you recommendations.
You just don't want to put 30 weight in your bobbin. It's too bulky. It's not pleasant.
Yeah. Exactly. That would not be pleasant.
And then we want you to have fun.
Exactly. And then the needle, I'm sorry we didn't bring the little needle pack back here, but the sewing size needle that you use with this is these 90-14. And we have those, and they're only a few bucks a pack. You gotta grab them if you don't, because they're just awesome to have with you. So then you're gonna go through your pattern and do all your cutting instructions. My tip with the cutting is, if you're going to starch any of your fabric, starch it the same from start to finish. Wouldn't you agree? If you're going to starch at the beginning, don't stop starching midway through your quilt. Just be consistent with your starch levels throughout. Or not, apparently.
I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, but what I would do is I would starch, like this is what comes in your kit. I would take these pieces in the background and I would spray it lightly, and then I would iron them. All of them. What
I mean is, don't starch this month and then like on month 3 decide you're tired of starching and quit starching. Use a consistent amount of starch with all of it.
Either be a starcher or don't be a starcher.
Commit now. Write it down on the back page of your pattern where it's notes, and make a pledge to yourself if you're going to starch or not.
Sorry, guard dog Buttons.
Yeah, Buttons is barking, which means a leaf fell currently in the parking lot. Okay, so then you're going to go through your cutting instructions, easy peasy, easy to follow. Then, I know Buttons is going to bark for a while. Then we're getting to the good stuff, the machine applique instructions, which is what you're really here for. So we recommend the following tools. So you're going to have a light pad. We recommend the Caterpillar light pad. Any light pad that you have will work. Then we have the applique glass mat, which you're going to see in action in just a minute.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Mom's obsessed. We're all obsessed. And then you're going to have your fusing mat set, which is this little green thing on the table. It's a dream for all of your applique projects. Then you'll want to have a nice little iron. We like to use the Steam Fast Travel Iron. And then last but not least, our Steady Betty, where you do your final pressing. So now what we're going to do is talk about building units. And the way we wrote the pattern is really step by step. So, Mom, why don't you build I'm building the unit, so you're going to tell me what to do now. So first step is set up your workspace. So what I have in front of me is my light pad, my applique glass mat, and my fusing mat. And then what I'm going to do is take my placement guide right here, and I'm going to put it underneath my fusing mat, but above my glass, right? So I have this ready to go. Then what you want to do is take all your pieces out of your kit, and if this is like really your very first applique project, what you can do is actually, before you peel the white paper backing off your applique pieces, you can lay it on your placement guide and write with like a little Sharpie or Pigma pen the number of the piece. So as you're building your applique unit with the pattern, you can say, hey, I need piece number 1. What's piece number 1? And you can grab it. I, however, have gone on and peeled all the backing from mine because I'm really familiar with the pattern.
So you could lay them on if you want to show them that paper.
Yeah, so what you would do before you peel the backing, you would just take your piece and you're going to lay it down. Now when you are identifying it using your all your applique pieces, right, they're reversed, you're going to put the fusible side up to make it match, right?
Because it's backwards.
Because it's backwards.
As it should be.
As it should be. It's backwards the right way. And so then you would lay your piece down. That was a fun little play on words, huh?
Yeah, you're funny.
I said something last night on the phone to you too, and it was really funny. I don't remember what.
I don't know either.
But Mom told me I should write a book of weird things I say.
Yeah,
it was funny. Yeah, I don't remember what it was. So you would just take your writing utensil and identify the numbers. I'm not going to do that in the video. This particular video, we will in the big formal tutorial because, well, I've now made like 20 placements of these, so hopefully, knock on wood, I can conquer it. So what we're going to do, you ready? What pieces am I going to build first?
You're going to build.
Oh wait, I have to do my accent lines.
Oh.
We're on step number 3.
Step number 3 says mark your accent lines on piece 6.
All right.
Which is what, the belly?
This is his little belly body.
His belly body. With a fine Pigma pen or a pencil,
We have a pigment pen back here. Now you like to use a pencil and I like to use a pigment pen.
I like to use a mechanical pencil
Mm-hmm.
because if you get too heavy-handed with the other pen, you have to really work harder to get the pen get the thread to cover it. So, but it's your choice.
So what I'm gonna do is just turn my light pad on. Whoop.
Here's a trick with your light pad. If you pull the glass
over that
switch, you won't
or turn it where it's not on your.
Yeah.
It's a touch on off, so you just want to make sure you don't turn it on and off a million times. So for the moment, I don't need my pressing sheet because I just want the full light, right? And all I'm gonna do, the accent lines that I'm gonna mark, I'll hold it up so you can see here. See the little black eyelashes and then the mouth. That's all I need to mark. So it only takes a second, but trust me and trust Mom, when you get ready to sew, you don't have to wing it. You don't have to go like, oh no, I made it crooked or anything. You have exactly what you need. So your applique piece fits in perfectly. You're just gonna lightly trace that. Boop, boop. And if you want, we have two little circles which denote where you're gonna put your button eyes that are included in the kit. You're gonna do that at the end. But what I'm gonna do is just a little dot. And I don't even know if you'll be able to see this dot on camera. But just a dot. Don't trace the circle. But just inside the center of that, I did a little dot. So that's what you have on piece number 6, right?
Yes.
Piece number 6. So we've marked Harmony's mouth and eyelashes, a little dot for her eyes. And now what unit am I going to build?
You're going to build Appliqué Unit 1,
awesome.
Which is pieces 1 through 9.
Perfect. So piece number 1.
And again, the reason she's building this first is she's starting from the bottom and coming up.
Yes, so you always want to start from the bottom and build in the layers. And the nice thing about our patterns is it is 100% numbered. So in theory, you never have to think. However, we like for you, if you're new to Appliqué, to understand the methodology behind why we're doing this, right?
Yes, and of course, when we say piece 1 through 9, we mean put down number 1 and then number 2. And it's like putting a little puzzle together. You just place them on, as Brittany's done
right
here,
on.
and just made it fit right inside the placement lines.
And so then piece number 2 is a brown piece of the ear.
Which I'll confess, you guys, when I was making the original, I kept forgetting to stick those ears in there. Drove myself crazy.
So piece number 3 is then the pink piece right on top of that. So I'm just going to layer those 3 together, those 3 pieces, and I'm going to lightly... Yeah, actually, Libby is going to come in kind of close right now for us, really for you, so that you can see everything really close. So, excuse the motion on the camera. So we have piece number 1, piece number 2, piece number 3, and just zap it for a second. I just am going to go like that. Don't tell Mom I used the whole iron. So then we're going to do pieces 4 and 5, which is our brown and pink pieces over here. So then I'm just going to take a gander and make sure I get this in the right spot right here. There we go. So piece number 4, piece number 5, just like so. And then again, just zap it. Now you don't want to go forever ironing this. It only takes a few seconds. And the goal of this process right now is just to build the unit. Once we have that unit together and we build our second unit and we plop those together, then we're really going to press it on our background fabric. Right now we're just building the unit, so you don't need a ton of time with your iron. Be light-handed with your iron, wouldn't you say, Mom?
Yes.
So now we're on piece number 6. And you just line this little guy up, follow the lines. And what you'll notice is he's gonna overlap just a hair all the way around. And then what I'm gonna do is just take the edge of my iron, and I'm really only pressing, I know it's probably hard to see, but I'm only pressing where it overlaps so that I don't overexpose. So my iron is angled, although it's probably hard to tell.
The reason being, if you keep pressing on your glue, the glue just sort of disintegrates.
Yeah,
and you
don't want that
to work when you go to put it to your fabric.
So this is, I'm just going 1 through, oh, I have to put those little pink faces on. So his little cheeks and his little heart nose.
Yep, that's 7, 8, 9, I believe, right?
Yep, so 7, 8, 9, so it doesn't matter which of these 3 you put in which order because you're going to just press them all at one time. And then this little pink nose heart is so little. And let me tell you my little trick. If it's a little bitty piece, I just take my scissor tips. I brought
you a stiletto too.
Finally, I never have this when we're filming a tutorial and I always talk about it. Look at that. That makes life so easy. Oh, you might not get this back.
Then we'll
Y'all
just have
might
to get
see this
another
in
one.
all the machine embroidery tutorials.
I love this. It's an Alex Anderson 4-in-1 tool.
Let me show y'all. So nice. And then the other end, whoo! Hopefully you don't need this end during this process.
But it's also a little wooden iron on this end.
Oh, a little presser? Not that you
Yes.
need it for this part,
And then
but
this part right here, which you can, I don't know what you can do with that.
when you're turning your applique
Oh, it
bags
might
from the
help with
embroidery
that,
machine.
yeah.
So really cool tool. Okay, so now we have all of the unit 1 built, which is step 4 of your pattern. So now we're gonna go to step 5.
Which is pieces 10 through 18.
Okay, so all I'm doing, I don't need this unit right now. So he's just gonna hang here and I'm gonna move this over. And now the unit that I'm building is gonna be my little spool. So check it out. See, so we have the outer part of him built. Now we're gonna build this interior, right?
Right.
And you can see all your
Oh,
pieces
excuse me,
numbered.
everybody.
So what we're gonna do is put pieces 10, 11, and 12 down. And what I love about the fusing mat is, see, once you get that on there, it's like it's a little tacky, so you don't have to like iron it immediately. It stays there for you.
I'm telling you, this is just the best setup ever that I've had for applique.
I
Yes.
agree.
Having a light pad that's really flat, especially cordless, and the glass mat,
Yeah,
and this tacky mat, this
Well,
fusing mat.
and you can really see right now how awesome the applique glass is, because had I not had this applique glass, I can't iron directly on my light pad. Ask me how I know, because I have done it before and I've melted light pads. That's not good. So normally you would get your unit in place and have to slide over to your Steady Betty. Now this doesn't eliminate the Steady Betty, you still want it for later, but having this glass and eliminating that sliding back and forth is awesome. So we're just gonna tap those together. So that's 10, 11, and 12. Now we're gonna do whoop, whoop, our little piece, and I am upside down, so I hope I get this right. So that, and then this little guy, and he's easy to line up because he lines up right at the bottom and he just overlaps your green barely. So see, get that right in place. And now I'm gonna give that just a smidge of a tap right there. And now I'm just gonna peek at my numbers. I am gonna do number 15. So we're gonna do the yellow flower, right? So I'm gonna do the yellow flower, then I'm gonna put the hand, then I'm gonna put the orange circle, right? Because his little hand is kind of within the flower. So we'll take,
Can I say a tip too?
you sure can.
It's a little, well, we suggest you build your units like this one, 10 through 18. If you have trouble with visually, you can slip this aside and build your flower on this and then put it back to put it on.
So you would do pieces 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and then put it on piece
on top
10,
of the
11,
spool.
12.
Yes. If you
Yeah.
have a hard time seeing, Brittany doesn't have a hard time seeing, so she's able to do this very nicely.
Thanks,
But-
Mom.
Well,
Thanks
it's
for the
true.
eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, she has no visual correction. It's amazing.
I know. And then piece number 18, I didn't peel my backing off. Fun tip for peeling your backing off. All you do is hold it fabric side up and just gently crimp like that, and look at that, it just releases. Isn't that nice? And so this little piece barely overlaps. So if you want, you could put that on separate if you wanted to. But I'm just gonna touch it right here where it overlaps.
So this is going to be really easy when she moves it onto the center of her little hedgy body.
Exactly. So now I have two pieces totally built. And all you do is just gently release this. And by release it, I mean just gently peel it up. So see, we have one unit totally made. Well, actually, this is unit 2. And what I'm going to do is plop it right on top of unit 1. Now, you can center this back over your placement guide. So you make sure you get it right.
I would do that because I think, isn't the spool a little bit
The
lower?
spool does stick below. So I'm just lining up my big unit. Right? That looks good to me. Pretty darn close. And then I'm just going to line this up. So how you're going to know this is in the right spot, you're going to see that outline of the spool on the bottom. And then check out his arms. They are perfect alignment on either side of his belly. So I know I have it in the right spot. And then just quickly zap this little guy. And now, was that not so easy? Now what we're gonna do is put this on our background fabric, and now, bloop, 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 bloop. Look at my little unit, so cute.
His cheek fell off.
Oh no! Come back, cheek. Cause I'm scared to press too much when mom is watching, y'all. It's
So
true.
Of course it's the mother's fault.
No, but I just get nervous pressing in front of you. In the real tutorials, y'all know I press a lot. Okay, so now I have my background fabric, right? It's already to size for you. You don't have to worry about making it square before you put this on here, because we give you more than enough we're gonna trim down. So
I'd still center it, just in my little.
mom will still
head.
center it, and I guess technically I'm still centering it too.
Yeah.
But you just want to make sure you're covering these outer lines, right? Because the very outer line is your trim line. So I'm going to take my little unit, with his little cheek falling off. I'll put it back on just a second.
He's so happy his cheek is just keeps flying away.
His little cheeks are popping.
Mm-hmm.
And then put your little cheek in place. Come back, cheek. Now I can really do the real ironing, right? And so you just hold it about 3 to 5 seconds. And you don't want to slide your iron. You want to pick it up and move it, because if you slide it, you will end up moving your pieces.
Because you're really pressing it.
Exactly. And then here's what I like to do. I like to then get my Steady Betty and do one final press before I sew. So see,
Absolutely.
and there's just something about a Steady Betty, the way it like just presses so nicely, better than an iron, unless you happen to have a Steady Betty iron cover. So I'm just going to go over it one more time for a few seconds. Again, not too long. You don't want to overexpose it. And I have this on a medium heat. It's not like all the way turned up.
I forgot my stabilizer.
Oh no! So now what we're going to do, we can probably grab some from the embroidery machine. So what we're going to do now is hand this over to mom.
Where is your roll?
And while, no, that's a paper towel roll. It's on the side, on the right. There's some, probably thicker than you want. While she's getting the stabilizer, because we got everything back here for filming, we forgot to bring the stabilizer. I'm going to give you a little tip about what we're doing next. So first off, you're not going to trim this yet. You're going to do all your stitching before you trim anything. So if you'll notice right here in your pattern, we have a nice little diagram that Libby made for you. And it's going to tell you exactly what color thread you need, and it tells you your stitch order. So stitch order number 1, it tells you that you're going to take the 1056, the medium tawny tan color, and you're going to stitch pieces 1, 2, 4, 6, 16, and 18. So you don't even have to think about the order that you're doing your stitching. Then the second color that you'll load will be 1256, which is a really fun pink. And you're going to stitch 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, and the mouth. And you're going to go on down the process of stitching this. So you're just going to follow the order. And so throughout the entire process, we're going to give you that stitch order every month. So again, you don't have to think about anything. And we tell you exactly the steps you need. But Mom, you'll explain a little bit of the theory of the stitch order that you do.
Yes.
So now, I'm going to be quiet now, at least for a second, and hand it over to Mom.
Okay, so I have my machine set up already. Normally, hopefully you would have a flat surface around, so you have some support for your applique piece. I didn't bring that back here with me as well. You want to have an open toe foot so that you can see where you're going. Probably better if Libby comes over with the camera again, so you guys hang on with this movement here.
And if you're curious what an open toe foot means, Mom explained it to you in the back of the pattern, and Libby made an awesome diagram showing what an open toe foot looks like, and we have stitch examples of what Mom's gonna do.
Yeah.
Nice, huh?
Yeah. So, I have my machine threaded with the 30 weight sulky in the top, which you can always tell the 30 weight by the white spool caps on it. And then I have a bobbin with 50 weight in the bottom, and this is number 1056 or
1056, medium tawny tan.
1056 medium tawny tan, which matches this brown perfectly. Okay, so I have my machine set on my favorite applique stitch, which is one that takes a couple little stitches on the side. You'll see in a second when I start sewing, and then it bites in, comes back out, a couple little stitches, bites in, okay?
And do you want me to hold the camera over here for you?
I don't care, however you feel, everybody can see it.
We're just, so everybody excuse the motion, we're gonna pass the camera a little bit so that you can see everything.
So now...
Yay. Oh, and Emily's watching. Yay.
Hi. So what I have here, I suggest if you're new to this, and well, even if you're not, start slow. Put your speed down on slow. I like to use no foot. I use the hand push buttons. So here we go, guys.
So you have your needle in the needle down position. Why do you do that?
So I can pivot. And now I'm pivoting around a curve, which is a kind of tiny curve. So you can see I'm taking my time. And this is why having this, picking this stitch that does a couple little stitches on the outside is best, because then it bites in like this to hold it. See?
And so y'all, I'm getting as close as I can to the stitch while Mom can still hopefully see the sewing machine.
Yeah. Now different machines allow you different capabilities with your stitch length and stitch width. On this particular machine that I'm demoing today, it does what I think is probably the most common size for everyone, which I don't like where that went. Watch this.
Yeah, this is a good tip. If you don't like where your needle's going, trick it.
Sometimes you could just move a little bit. So I moved that in because it bit a little far. But this is 2.5 by 2.5. Now I think a lot of machines, that's about what it's going to let you do. But on some, you can go smaller. And that's kind of what I prefer on tiny things, because then you're more in proportion to it. But this one is working out cute just as well with 2 by 2.5, 2.5 by 2.5.
And so can y'all see the needle is right on the outside of the fabric? And Mom, you're just pivoting pretty much constantly, really, because of all the little curves on this.
Which is why I like to have my finger, use my thumb, and the start-stop without the foot pedal. Now, also, if you have a knee lift, that works really helpful too. You don't have to lift your presser foot up.
Sorry, y'all.
We're tight here. It's like I grew another arm. I've always wished for another arm.
Hey, you got one now.
But I got one now I can't control.
That's probably the worst kind. But this is really showing everybody close up nicely the stitches. I hope y'all are enjoying that.
Oh, good.
Because you're really getting to see that needle basically it's a needle width outside of the fabric. And then the reason you pivot is you want to keep those stitches pointing in the right direction. Otherwise, you end up with those slanted stitches that we mention in the pattern and give you a diagram on those. And so the stitch width and length that you have right now is 2.5 by 2.5.
But you guys can see how the needle just goes in right on the outer edge of the fabric.
And your needle is down so that pivoting is easy. I'll show from afar kind of, you can see Mom can really pivot that fabric any direction.
I really think they'd be able to see the stitch nicely on the white belly.
Well, I don't think we brought that thread back here.
Oh no, I stitched it with this.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Well, we're going to cut the thread and we're going to stitch the next piece. This is all part of the first step of stitching. So we're on stitch order number 1. So you're going to stitch again pieces 1, 2, 4, 6, 16, and 18. So 6 is the body. Mom's just going to jump to piece number 6 so that you can really see the contrast of the thread and see that stitch even better. And you should also talk about you want to start at the beginning of a piece, correct? Like at, where it butts up to something else.
Oh, yes. That's a very good point, Brittany. Thank you. You don't want to start like in the middle of a line, like up here or anywhere, because it's better you'll be wanting to tie your thread off at the end, but you can make your stitch pattern be consistent all the way through. Libby, if you'll send me that pillow.
How did we do this before, Libby?
I don't know.
I know, because it used to be just Brittany? The 2 of us, and now we have 3.
See, this is where I started down here and did up here. I even did this part of his arm all the way around down over to here. Okay? And as you can see how tiny this is, I was using a different machine that went really tiny.
So what'd you go to, like 1.5 or 2 for the bite in?
I think it was like 1.5.
Yeah, on the embroidery machine, I did a mix of 1.5 and 2s.
And I did the same thing with Tiny on his cheeks.
Especially
See
the
his little
nose.
cheeks. Yeah.
Little nose is definitely one
Okay,
and a half.
so now if you want to come back to this, I'll show how I do this. And you'll notice I'm leaving the tails. That's because with this machine it doesn't lock off. So I'll pull the thread to the back and tie it. Now you can see I'm not stopping and pivoting that frequently on this because it's such a gentle curve, so you can kind of get away with that, but sometimes you can't. That skipped a stitch. Mercy me. See there?
So cute. Look at him. You gotta say it. He's coming to life.
He does. It's like their little personality just starts singing to you. Now, when you're coming here to a point like this, I know it's going to bite in again, I believe, if I've been paying close enough attention. There we go.
Oh, that's perfect.
See, and I like it to bite straight down into the
Let's
point.
show on this.
See here? It bit straight down into that.
I love it.
And then continues around. So, but that, is kind of hard to get that to happen.
And if it doesn't, no one else looking at your project is going to be like, oh my goodness. And if they are, they're not your friend.
Well, then they can show you how nicely they worked theirs.
Exactly.
And give you some tips, right?
Look at him being so cute. Are y'all loving him? So the needle's all the way on the outside. Your bite is coming in and your stitch is always in the forward motion. It's never going backwards.
Now right here, I'm going to stop because would go into the flower, and I don't want it to do that. So I'm going to stop and lift this up. I'm going to leave a tail, pull it out, trim it, and come back over here and line this back up. I always like make an adjustment with my needle on where I'm going to be starting.
Can I tell you what I do for the embroidery machine?
Absolutely.
So Mom just took the needle out and skipped, all the way around. If I have where something's going to bite in, I'll take it down to a smaller stitch just for like a couple of stitches and then keep going, or I'll just switch to straight stitch and keep going. Of course, the embroidery machine is a totally different concept, but just little foods for thought.
Yeah.
Now tell us what you're doing with the tails of your thread right now.
Well, now what I've done is I've pulled the bobbin thread and just kind of given it a tug. See, now can they see this thread disappearing?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's coming to the back. And so then I would take this and turn it over, and I would tie this in a knot. I just use this is if you don't have the locking stitch on your machine. This is a good way to secure your threads and make sure that it's going to stand up to repeated washings if that's something you do. With a wall hanging, we don't typically wash quilts. If they get dusty, which sometimes they can depending on certain things. But if they're dusty, you can toss them in the dryer with a damp towel for just a few minutes, and that'll get the dust off. Or you can just bang them around.
And we can show, like on the back, you can see where Mom didn't want to stitch on that flower. So then flip to the back, you can see all she did was finish the stitch, go up a little bit forward, and see, so there's no stitching right there.
So when I gave that a tug, just pulled the thread so I can pull it back here.
So that's just pulling the thread to the back so you can secure it off. Now this is really the proper way to do all machine applique, but again, a lot of machines do a locking stitch like you're talking about, so you don't have to do this if your machine does it for you.
Right, and the machine that I stitched the pillow on, it did that for me. And you can't tell that it was doing it. It seamlessly is wonderful. So modern technology has definitely helped us in the sewing world.
So I'm going to hand this back to Lucy, y'all. We're traveling. Watch out for the bumpiness. It's a bumpy ride back to the tripod. So what other tips do you have for your buttonhole stitch? Because we have a bunch in here written for you.
Well, particularly on this little guy.
Let's hear it, Mom. Tell us.
Well, he has such round circles, and round circles are a thing that's difficult for a lot of people, as well as anything with a curve you kind of want to pay attention to. You want to keep where the needle is going to bite in perpendicular to the outer edge of the applique piece.
So the reason you're pivoting, you want your stitch to always go like that around the circle, and so you have to pivot. Kind of think of it like you want the lines on a clock always to face the same
Or spokes
way.
on a wheel. If there was a center dot in like an old wagon wheel or your bicycle wheels, and this, well no, they're twisted, but if think of a wagon wheel on the old westerns.
Like you're on the Oregon Trail looking for gold.
With a, oh gosh, can you imagine?
No.
So in the center is a dot in the center where the axle would be on the wheel, and the spokes all come in straight into that center point. It's like a piece of pie.
It's like picture D in your pattern if you go to where the stitch tips are. So if you don't do that, you're going to end up with picture C. If you're not pivoting, all of a sudden before you know it, your stitches are curved or slanting. Whereas if you pivot and make sure that kind of visualize a line always coming out from where your stitch is going to bite in, you have to visualize it, then you're going to end up with D, which is correct.
And by pivot she means stop with the needle down in the fabric and then move your fabric a little and then take a couple stitches and really on circles, especially tiny ones, you have to do it a lot. It's annoying.
So maybe for this you want to go around piece number 6, get your groove with your machine, and then go to piece number 1. Yes, we have some questions?
Yes. First of all, Stephen says hello from the Netherlands.
Hey, Steven! Happy birthday, Cora! I hope everybody's watching. Yay! Okay, that's awesome.
And then Connie says, what kind of stabilizer do you use? And does it come in the kit?
So the stabilizer doesn't come in the kit because everybody kind of has a personal preference. So Mom, talk about the options for that.
Well, there's a lot of different options you can use. What I'm using here is what Brittany uses in the embroidery machine, which I consider to be too thick.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to use it on this either.
This does not tear away. This is...
that's actually not what I like to use on the embroidery machine. I like a medium tear away.
Okay. So what I use when I'm doing it myself is 2 different things typically. I would use, Pellon makes a lightweight tear away that's very lightweight, very sheer. I would use that because when you put all this work in to do your applique stitches, you don't want to be tearing away something that's then going to distort your stitches and mess them up. So that's a concern to me. I don't like to use a cutaway because when you cut it away, it's close and then you have that, still have some left in there, and I don't want that bulk, extra bulk in the machine or in the quilt.
But your top secret choice is?
There's a secret choice that I use.
It's true. She does use this.
I do use this. It's deli paper, pop-up deli paper from like a restaurant supplies place or
it comes in like a box. It looks like a tissue box.
It's sheer. It's sheerer than wax paper, but it does have a waxy side to it, so it will move nice and smoothly on the bed of your machine.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, you just put it down that side, and that works good. You can tear it away. You will sometimes have pieces that will get stuck in between your blanket stitches, in which case then I use a little tweezer and pull it out. So Brittany doesn't realize this, but my favorite thing to use lately is, and what I used with the Hedgie quilt, and even on this pillow, is SF101, which is an iron-on fusible. It's a woven fusible made by Pellon. Again, that's SF101. A lot of people
like
use
San
that.
Francisco.
Yes.
San Francisco.
So what I
101.
do is once I get my piece like this, my piece is all ironed on the applique pieces, then I cut a square that's really about a 1/4 inch in from the outer edge of all of this. So if this, say this is an 8-inch square fabric, I would cut it like 7.5 inches square so that it fits right inside a 1/4 inch margin inside this, and I press it to it. I'm fortunate to have a nice heat press, so I just zap it on the heat press, and I'm telling you guys, it comes
most
out
of
great.
us use this.
Yeah, but you would want to use an iron. So the best thing I can say is for you to maybe experiment with some different stabilizers and see what you like best. My favorites have changed. I've never been happy with what they sell as a tear away because again, I don't like the way it tears away. They can't seem to come up with anything light enough to suit me.
One thing that you can do is just trace this spool. The spool top and bottom pieces 10, 11, and 12. Trace that a couple times, and then you can experiment with your stabilizer, your stitch width and length, and you can kind of get the groove of your machine before you maybe stitch your real thing. Just a fun thought as well.
Libby?
Dolores suggests using doctor exam table paper.
Oh,
It tears away
yeah.
really easily.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, that's
that's
what you
true.
draw on.
I do draw on that
That's true.
That's-
All of the quotes that you get from us originally start with drawings on table paper. Yeah,
too. Yeah, pretty much.
sometimes even before that, napkins.
If we were in a restaurant, well, when we used to go
Back
to
when we could go to
restaurants.
restaurants.
Now that doesn't happen anymore, but yes, I'm glad you said that, Dolores, because table paper does
Yeah.
work very well. Now, you can also buy table paper, I bought it by the case from Amazon, or if you have a nice doctor's office that you go and visit frequently, possibly they would just give you one, because a lot
Or
of
when you're
times
in
they
there,
get
just
them.
unroll it.
No, don't steal the paper. But a lot of times
I'm kidding.
doctor's offices get paper that's donated to them by, a company
Oh, like a
trying
rep?
to, yeah, a representative is trying to sell them something, so they'll give them a roll of not toilet paper.
Don't use toilet
Table
paper.
paper.
Toilet paper's a commodity right now. No, I'm just
Table
kidding.
paper. Don't use toilet paper. I do not recommend toilet paper.
I think that would get stuck in your machine.
Yeah, don't do that.
So yeah, table paper, the deli paper, or experiment with maybe some things you have on hand. I would say for sure a lightweight tearaway for this. On the embroidery machine, I actually use a medium tearaway because I like the stability in the hoop. Here, you're not doing that, so you can have that really easy tearaway.
And also a word of advice. I do know someone who used regular copy paper out of their copy machine or their typewriter paper. No, that doesn't work so hot.
Does
It's
it not
very-
tear away well?
It doesn't
or?
tear. It's very hard to get off because
Yeah.
the stitches aren't close enough together. Generally speaking, it was very difficult
Yeah,
for them to remove it. So I don't recommend that.
it's not like paper piecing where it just like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're not stitching as close together like you are with paper piecing.
Yeah.
But even on paper piecing, use a lighter weight paper. So anyway, try a few things and see what you like.
And truly, just trace the spool a couple extra times. That's a really good practice thing to stitch on too, because you have nice straight lines. Where to me, when you're doing sewing machine applique, to me, the most important thing is to know that rhythm of your machine. Like know when you turn the machine on, if it starts with the forward stitches or if it starts immediately with the bite in.
Yeah, this one bites in. This is an Eversewn machine. My Genomes at home start with the outer edge.
The straight. Yeah.
So it's sometimes I get I'm a
When you
little-
switch between
I
machines.
get a little confused, you know.
So play with your machine, and this is a great starter project to like really get in that groove with your machine. And then let's just talk briefly about the ruler, because as soon as you're done stitching it, you're gonna do your pillow borders and a simple folded ruler. So we're gonna do another in-depth tutorial specifically about the ruler, but today we just wanted to mention the taping part.
And one thing I do want to say is when you are doing this, please pay attention to the pattern and trim this
Yes.
little guy to the proper size because your pieces will not fit.
And we
Do not.
notate on your placement guide the trim line, so you can truly lay your finished applique piece right on that and use your ruler and carefully make sure you have that 6.5 inch square traced, or you can, measure out, use that placement guide
Which
to
is
measure
also
out.
why this is such a great thing because you can use your light pad,
Yes.
put that down, and then put your cutting mat over and with this on top, you
Yeah.
can see your tracing, your lines, and then trim it.
If you want to see something like that immediately before we put the next Hedgie tutorial up, you can jump over to our YouTube channel and just go to the Gnome playlist, our Gnome Block of the Month playlist. Just slide all the way to the end of the machine embroidery tutorials, and at the end of all of those, I truly use that placement guide to trim all of my blocks, and I show you how I use the lines on the ruler to make sure I stay square and keep everything right. So if you want to see that before you do it on your project and before this next video tutorial is up, just go jump to the Gnomes or Snow Buddies, any of those, I do that same thing.
Okay, so now let's talk about the ruler. Now, I hope that you guys are going to really enjoy this ruler that we included in your kit because you'll find that you can use it on so many things besides just this quilt.
Oh, like binding.
or lots of things. So, in the directions, we show you, I don't know exactly how we tell you. What are we telling them about the ruler?
So we are telling them to gather your pieces. You're going to sew your borders on. And then step number 6 is when we're going to start talking about the ruler. And we tell you, like in the chart of the ruler, he gives you a full chart. We took just the chart that you need to see and your measurements and plopped it in here. Your ruler comes with the full chart, but again, we gave you just the measurements you need to use
For this quilt.
for this specific project. And so we give you an exact diagram of the ruler, and so you can see in real life. Let me put it on the white for you so you can see. Tell me about the lines, Mom.
Okay, well you're going to be using this ruler in 2 different ways. There's a cutaway line, which is obviously what you're going to do. You're going to cut first.
Which is your 2.5 inch.
And then you're going to sew your triangle onto it. And then you're going to cut it away or trim it down later to square it up.
2 inch.
Yes. And we are using the oversized because we want to have accuracy when we do this. So if we make a triangle bigger, then we can trim it up to be where it needs to be instead of trying to make it go exactly where it should be, if that makes any sense.
So you can see the blue line is on your 2 inch line. So the blue is your trim line. And then what looks like, I guess it's red and maybe looks pink right here, is your cutaway line, which is marked on your 2.5 inch. So you can see this is your 2.5 inch right here. And so Mom did the tape right up next to it. You don't want to actually tape on that line, because you need to be able to see it. You just want a reminder of which line you're using. Is that a good?
Kind of. You have to think of this in 2 different ways, and probably for the first time you do it, I would suggest that you mark your cutaway line first, because you're going to cut it away before you sew it. You kind of need to think of that. So if you envision this, say this guy right here that was all stitched and he was trimmed down to his proper size, and so we know that we want to put a 2.5 inch square on it. So we would line this up, we mark this so we know we're 2.5 inch over here. You can see it says 2.5. And I don't put my tape right on the very line because I want to be able to see it real good. And I can't if I have my tape there. But that tape is just to help me know that that's the line I'm looking for. So I would then line that up with the trimmed block there and here. And then I would take a rotary cutter and I would cut this away.
You want to do it?
Well, we can.
Oh, I don't have borders on it. Oh, that's
No,
right. That's what you're doing.
We cannot do it.
Yeah.
But that's how I would do it. You would line the top edge, the outer edge up, square it up, and then you cut this away. We've already told you to have your triangles ready, haven't we?
Yep, you do that in your cutting.
You would have a triangle that you would then sew onto this, and you'll see it's going to be bigger. So what I do is I would take this, let's just pretend this is folded away and cut away. I take my fabric and I just fold it in half and make a little crimp mark up here. So it gives me the center of that, so you can kind of tell. And then I would do the same thing with my triangle. And then I line the centers up and then I stitch it 1/4 inch away.
And don't worry, there's going to be a full in-depth tutorial on this.
Yeah.
We're just jumping ahead, giving you some tips in case you want to jump ahead. Exactly.
So then you would press that, you stitch your triangle on and you would press it out like this. So my fingers would be your triangle, right? But you would see your triangle's hanging out over here. It's bigger because it's oversized. So then we take our ruler and we know we want to trim to the finished size of our triangle is a 2 inch, right? So we would then place this line on the seam line, which would also line up hopefully with the edge up here and your outer edge here, and you would be able to trim your triangle like that.
It's so easy.
It really works well, but you gotta think about your ruler and pay attention to which sides of the ruler you're supposed to use. Just know that when you're cutting, this one is marked 1/4 inch away and it's on the diagonal. When you're trimming a 90-degree corner. Thus it's called a folded corner ruler. And it's simple. So
Perfect name for it.
it's your simple folded corner ruler by Doug Lecco.
Doug Lecco. And you'll notice in the pattern, we truly tell you each step. We say, this is depicted in step 1 of your ruler instructions. So you not only have our instructions for the ruler, you also have the one written by the guy who designed the ruler, right? So then you would go to step 1 and you have the step-by-step from him as well. So you really have multiple ways to really understand how this ruler works. And I will say the ruler guide comes with really nice instructions.
Yes, you want to keep
Really
your
good
instructions.
diagrams.
And you will want to, if you're making this quilt, doing the block of the month, as everybody is, you'll keep it marked. And
The
you're
whole
going to
time.
use it all the way through. You're going to use it on every block. You see each little hedgie has your folded corner on the edge. And then
The
when
borders.
you have the borders, we have a rectangle and we are adding a square to it, so we're making a folded corner there as well.
And when we get all the way to the end of the year together making this, when you do your binding, you can use this to make a really easy.
To join your edges together.
Exactly. So really fun. This isn't necessary for the binding by any means,
Mm-mm.
but since you have it,
Might as well use it.
might as well use it. So make sure you keep this handy. If you want to make sure you don't lose it, just slip it inside your binder.
Along with your directions.
Yeah, keep that.
Keep your directions
ruler-
because you may need them at some future point using your ruler for something else.
Well, especially if, like, let's say you're really busy one month and so you don't make your block that month and you skip a month and come back, you know, and make it the next month, then you're like, oh no, I forgot. You want to make sure you have all of that with you.
Well, they'll also be able to look back at our videos.
Yeah, and you can look back at the video. So we will have an in-depth tutorial. When I say in-depth tutorial, one where we film overhead and you truly see us sew and stitch each thing step by step, so it's a piece of cake. This is a live tutorial where we get to interact with you and hear your questions and have fun.
Okay, and I want to address something else too.
Let's hear
We've
it.
had a few questions from a few customers who have received their starter box. And then they're like, well, I thought I was going to have block 1.
You get a present.
You sign up and you get your starter box to make this pillow, which is to help you learn how to use the ruler.
And to get comfortable.
With your applique stitch, even though this little guy is a lot smaller than these. So it'll be easier when you do those because
Yeah, these are
bigger is a lot of times easier.
So you get your, and it's all, if you ever are confused about what you're going to get in your box every month, just go back to our website, stitchedquilting.com, and you can click on, from the homepage, click to learn more about the Hedgies, or just go straight to Block of the Month clubs and then click on the Hedgie club that you're in. And if you scroll down, we tell you what you're getting every single month. So when you sign up right away, you get your starter kit. No matter when you join, you start with your starter kit. And in that starter kit is also your Hedgie guidebook, which you will want to make sure you keep as well because it answers all the frequently asked questions. For example, if you need to update your address, your credit card, where to access your embroidery files, things like that, they're all answered in the guidebook. And we also list our favorite notions so that if down the road you're like, you know what, maybe I do want that applique glass, you'll know what it's called.
Also now, I want to remind everybody that your first block will not ship to you until the first renewal date, which will be
The first of the following month after you sign
on
up.
October 1st, your first block will send out to you, which in this case, we're following our blocks as for the month of the little Hedgie dude,
So it would be the little bat.
the bat who is with
Harvey.
Harvey.
No, Harley. I think it's Harley, isn't it? Yeah, like Harley Davidson
Harley
in
the
my head.
Hedgie. All the Hedgies are named with an H.
Yeah. But I will tell you, if you're watching this video later, and let's say you join November 15th, November 15th, you'll get your starter box. And your first renewal will then be December 1st. So it's always the first month following, in which case your first block would be the December block.
But your first box coming to you would be your starter kit.
I don't know if anyone's noticed about quilting, but it's like binding, background, backing, box, block.
Yeah, we're all about the bees.
Whoever invented the English
That's
language.
why we like quilting bees.
But see what we did there. We're getting loopy. How long have we talked? A long time.
Not too long.
So hopefully you all have enjoyed this quick live version, or I shouldn't say quick, our live version of the tutorial. And be on the lookout for all of the in-depth tutorials where we take you step by step of the pattern. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment on the video. Ask us. We'll answer as fast as we can. Do know we do sleep sometimes, so, you know, Yeah, that's why we do all the videos.
And as you notice, Stephen is in Holland right now, so phone calls and emails are getting a little behind because he just went to Holland.
Yes, because it's Cora's birthday. Happy birthday, Cora. Yay! Cora is my mother-in-law, and it's her birthday.
And we wouldn't let Brittany go.
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed in right now.
That's
COVID.
stupid COVID.
Stupid COVID. Plus, I have a lot of work to do. Y'all need your tutorials.
Yeah. So, at any rate, please bear with us. We don't mean to ignore anybody, but we will get to you. We'll make you happy.
But truly, everything that you can imagine is answered in this step by step. I mean, we should put in here in our next pattern, we should do like chocolate breaks, hot tea breaks, because we give you every detail. So we might as well tell you when to have a snack.
Or you could just have a bowl of chocolate handy.
Next to your Hedgie.
And a cup of coffee or your preferred drink.
I can't remember who it is. So we have these really funny ladies, they're sisters, and they drink margaritas together when they make their domes, and they crack us up.
Yeah, it's been funny.
They've sent us pictures, which I love. It's fun.
They're having lots of fun.
They're doing quilting the right way. I love it. I wish I could remember their names. I'm sorry, y'all, but y'all are making us happy.
So we hope that everybody enjoys receiving their Hedgie box. If you haven't gotten yours yet, it's on its way to you.
It's on its way. Yay!
So welcome to the Hedgie Club.
Yay! Happy stitching, everybody.
Bye.